Well. Hello again. Welcome back to the iHealth channel and iHealth Radio and the Fit and Fab channel. Tonight, I have another guest, another surprise, another story, and a lot of good stuff. So with me tonight, I have Jana, all the way from California, Jana Short, and her story is unique. She is actually a lot of things. Also, she's a podcast host. She's a writer, I guess. She's it's an influencer. I mean, I don't want to state all these things. I'd like her to actually tell us more about herself. But really an opportunity to hear a few things about wellness, a different spin on things, holistic, and a holistic approach. And really, when life is really bad and tough and sucks, and you might think it's the end, and it's just there's no out, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Today's show will make you change that. I guarantee it. Right, Jana? I know that for sure.
Absolutely. Totally. And if we didn't do a good job.
Yeah. Well, we will. We will. I have all the confidence here. So with that, Jana, tell us a little bit about you first, and then, we'll go from there.
Well, I am a grandmother of 7, which we just talked about. I have 4 children that are grown. I mean, my oldest is 42 and my youngest is 37. So they're not babies. And I am an interior designer. That's what I did all my life. It's what I went to school for until life had different plans for me and put me on a journey that I wasn't expecting and led me to the best decade of my life. So my 50s were the last decade, and it was phenomenal. Lots of change, lots of incredible things came my way, all out of being on a deathbed. And so it was an amazing experience for me. I'm turning 60 in a few weeks, and I cannot wait to see what that next decade holds for me.
Well, Jana, you just said 2 things here. First of all, we'll talk about your first experience, which is interior design. But then you just said you had the best 10 years of life, but you mentioned the death, that is kind of like a very contradictory thing right there. I mean, how does most people like, what happened there? I mean, how can that be a good thing? So can you tell us more about, what was the life-changing event?
I can. So I was always kind of normally healthy, right? Like your average healthy person. I wasn't overly healthy, but I also didn't like drink 6 drinks a day. And, I took okay care of myself. But I had something called a hyanal hernia. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's just a little hernia in your esophagus. Almost everybody gets them as you get older, and they're no big deal, but I had to have mine repaired. It had twisted. So I had to have surgery on it, because what happens when something twists, it loses blood flow and it dies. So I went in for some surgery, and they had and they accidentally damaged my vagus nerve. And so people in health and fitness know how important the vagus nerve is, right? It's kind of like that brain connection to your gut that runs down your esophagus into your stomach, but it paralyzed everything for me. And of course, they didn't say anything to me. And when I came home, about months go by, and every time I ate, I kept thinking food was killing me. What is going on? And I started to look pregnant, and people would come up and say, "Congratulations on the new baby." And of course, I'm like, well, thank you. Thank you, because I'm in my 50s. So thank you for thinking I could have a baby, but I'm not pregnant. And finally, I ended up in the emergency room, like in so much pain with a mass in my stomach. And the mass was food that had turned into a beezer, which is just a mass of something. And they found out that they had damaged my nerve. And they found the only way to fix that was to have a complete, total gastrectomy. So my stomach removed, which sounded like a great plan because I trust what they're saying. And today, looking back, I would have probably done everything exactly the same. But I said, okay, I went in to have this surgery, and everything that could go wrong did. It dehisced, it opened up, I became toxic. I got septic, my organs started shutting down. The food that they were planning to feed me to nourish my body for the rest of my life was something called TPN. That's synthetic. And my body was, oh, hell no, that is not for us. But I had no other choices. That was my only choice because there was no stomach. So that did not work so well for me. My organs started shutting down. My hair started falling out. 2 months in the hospital, goes by. And every day I'm pretty positive. Every day I'm like, it's Wednesday. Okay, by this weekend, I'll be home. And that weekend would come and go. And then, okay, by next Tuesday, I'm going home. That Tuesday would go. And there I still sat, getting sicker and sicker, my hair falling out. My nails came out of the nail bed. And at the very end, they came to me and said, like, there's nothing else for us to do. Your organs are going to continually shut down. We think it'll be about a couple of weeks. We can make you very comfortable here, or you can go home and we'll make you comfortable at home. You know, I wasn't sick when I went in. I went in to have my stomach removed for a surgical error. I wasn't dying. And I just wanted the heck out of Dodge. I wanted to go home. My husband's, he's a veterinarian, so he knows enough about medicine to not let me just drop dead and to know when, things needed to be kicked up. So I decided to come home, and I had a brand new grandson. So he was our 5th grandbaby at the time. And this is a huge key for my whole pivotal change. I'm dying in bed because these incredible doctors who I still to this day am in contact with, I love and trust. They had told me there was no hope for me, none. And my husband, who would have done anything he could, no hope. 2 of my daughters are in med school, and their mom, all we learn is 1 semester of nutrition in med school. We don't know what to do to help you. And so my daughter brought over my grandson, who at the time was 9 weeks. So I was at his birth, and 8 weeks later coming home on my deathbed. And she brought him to see me. And I remember holding him and thinking, and I hope that all of you think about this right now in the moment you're in, and not wait till you're on your deathbed. But I remember thinking, how is he going to remember me? How will he know, like, little things like what it smells like to hug me, right? Because I still remember what my grandmother smelled like. And I remember her home when I would go in, all that, the yummy smells that only Nanas make, right? Or what it sounded like when we just started giggling together. And he's so little, he will not have one memory of me. And there was a mind shift for me. There was a mindset shift that I did not think my body would still be here 9 years now, 9 years later. I didn't think my body would still be here. And I wasn't even trying to make it still here. I was trying to create a memory. I got online, and I'm not an online person then, I wasn't. And I typed in the words, desperate for health answers. And a whole world of holistic opened up to me. And I feel like I'm super educated, but it was stuff like, what is this? Like, I have never heard of that. Is it new? And no, it's been around for centuries. People have been using these things. And they were pretty amazing. So I immediately got on the phone with my doctors, and they're like, what? You don't have anything to lose. Go for it. And so I started trying holistic stuff, right? I started trying a few things. Let me tell you, when you go online, we are so blessed that on my deathbed, I can type in those words and literally extend my reach around the world to millions of people with possible solutions. But with that wonderful blessing comes the other side of the coin, where there's a lot of scary people out there that don't even care what happens to you. And they just want to sell you a book, a product, an idea, a plan, with not maybe the right intent behind it. But that didn't stop me, and it shouldn't stop you for getting on that computer and putting on your smart cap, right? If it sounds too good to be true, probably is. If it's a magic pill to drop 100 pounds, probably won't. So I was willing to put in whatever the work was if I could just make one memory. And there was this huge mind shift and a huge awakening to not only natural holistic medicine, but also to what I could accomplish online as one person on my deathbed. And I tell people my decade of death turned out to be the best decade of my life. I thrived in it. If you saw before and after pictures of me, and if you go on my website, you will not even recognize. Yeah, you will not recognize the before and after of me. It's like people like, you are not the same person. I feel like I came out of it even better. Well, I definitely came out with more education. Those 2 daughters of mine that were in med school immediately switched courses and now are doctors of natural medicine. They wanted to be on the healing end, not the treatment end. They wanted you to thrive in your life, wherever that is. And here's the most important key that I want to tell everyone. I did not grow my stomach back. Nothing has changed in my diagnosis. And yet I am thriving in it. And I don't know if it's going to be another 20, 30, 40 years, with God willing, it will be, or if it's just today, because now I live in the moment. I'm creating so many memories in every moment, because I told you I was an interior designer. When I would show up on a job, I drove the most expensive car I could afford. I had Louis Vuitton shoes. I had my Hermes bags, right? I was decked out. And I knew when they saw me get out of my car, they're like, gosh, she's successful, right?
You got this.
She's got it made. That was all smoke and mirrors. It really was. I mean, I was very good at what I did, but it was all smoke and mirrors. And that was success in my
Perception.
mind.
Yeah.
Yes, that was my success, is having those things. And then here I am on my deathbed thinking, I'm not taking any of that with me. And all I'm craving is one memory to leave my grandchild, one. And none of those shoes were coming with me. None of the bags I had to have, when really you're only using one. None of that. And I am not, by the way, I'm not judging people who those things are important for, because I was that person. I wasn't a bad person. I just had a shift in my thought process. I had a shift in what was important to me. And that was creating those memories. And I was very authentic going online, sharing what was happening in my life. And I happened to build this massive following. And I think it was because, for all of you who've been through a journey, you've been through that journey for a reason. Those stories are given to you for a reason. And when you open up and share your powerful story, it is like your superpower. It goes out into the universe and creates this powerful ripple effect that literally goes out. You may never experience the change, but it is happening. And it could just be something that you said and one person heard, and they shared it with another and shared it with another. And pretty soon, amazing things are starting to happen. And for some reason, I don't know why this is, it's harder to make a ripple effect out of the positive as a negative, right? A negative thing goes viral immediately.
Tell me about it.
Looking, right? 100,000 million good deeds take forever to build that momentum up. So when you're putting that positive, incredible stuff out there, you are creating a ripple effect, and your story matters. It was given to you as a gift to be shared, to help other people learn from that. And it makes you, they connect with you. They start connecting with you in a real emotional way. So if you have a story, and if you're breathing, you do, you need to get out there and share it.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, that's what we're doing today, is really getting those folks out there to see the value of the story, the journey, and hopefully, I guess, give that fire, the vibe to the rest of the folks that are listening, watching, or even people that you interact with. So going back to the original, I mean, you've talked about the deathbed, and that had to be, very emotional moments. And then you had this moment or minute that you decided, let me Google, let me look at solutions other than where I've been, because whatever I've done didn't work. And so you looked at resources and potential help. Now, was there anything specific? I know you've had a lot of folks reaching out and trying to sell you things that may or may not have worked, but you did make, a discovery somewhere. What was that thing that made the difference?
So I found a lot of things online, but what happened to me wasn't online. Even though I saw it online, there's this big, huge distrust, right? If you catch one person, then two people misleading you, then everybody must be misleading you. So I really didn't pay much attention to it, but I decided to make one of those memories with my grandkids, and I went to an event. Let me tell you, that was quite the trip, because I'm so sick. I carried a backpack that was too heavy for me, that pumped that poison into my body, that was closing my organs down faster. But I wanted to create this memory so bad. And somebody, my grandson, who was 9 weeks, 10 weeks, I guess at the time, he had colic really bad. And when a baby has colic, like, it's painful, and you can see them like tighten into a ball, and they're screaming, and it's just painful. And she's like, asked me if she could put some essential, what is it? It's just lavender. I feel like it will help. And I watched within 5 minutes of that little baby screaming, curled in a ball, relax. Like, he just relaxed. You can't fake that when you're only 9 weeks old. Like, it's it's relief or it's not. And so I started thinking, what is it? How does that, what is that? How did it work? What is essential oil? Is it new? Hell no. I didn't know it's been around since like Jesus days. I had no idea. Frankincense and myrrh was just in a Christmas song. I had no idea exactly what that meant. And I just started learning more. I got books. I started educating myself. I started experimenting with what can I eat to absorb nutrients. Of course, everything in drinks. I do eat food, but most of my nutrients come in liquid form, right? I'll make smoothies and protein shakes, anything I can get that my body will absorb. But I do eat. But I started eating and I started feeling a little bit better using the oils. And when I say eating, it was like soup that I wasn't supposed to be eating. And did I cure myself again? No. There are symptoms that I will never get away from. So just part of my day, I probably throw up 5 to 10 times a day. A little bit goes in and most of it comes back. But I have enough that I sustain not only a healthy life, but a thriving lifestyle. I'm full of energy. It works for me. Honestly, I don't know how much of that has to do with mindset because I'm 100% about mindset. Whatever I visualize, my brain doesn't have a choice in the matter. It's got to follow along. So I visualize my food giving me nutrients. I visualize that energy coming from it. And that is how I live my life and sustain it. But essential oils was my first holistic experience. Of course, now I know about meditation and breathing and yoga and there's just so much that is new to me, but it's not new. It's been out there forever. Here's the thing. When my daughters went into holistic medicine, my first instinct was, how are you going to make a living? Like, you're not an MD now. How are you going to make a living at that? And not even looking at the fact that this was where their joy was and where they wanted to be. They're making quite a good living because the world is moving towards being more holistic, especially now with COVID. Everything's blowing up on how do I keep my immune system strong? How do I, keep thriving in what I'm doing? So things are changing and I am so glad that they are. And I hope they keep changing in this direction.
So that is a lot of, there's so much to absorb. I'm trying just to get it all to sink in, but I mean, you went from essential oils and then you've experienced a lot more stuff. And now you got different types of nutrients or ways to actually have good nutrients, different from the synthetic stuff. Would you potentially share with us some of that, the potential food or the nutrients that you get in? I mean, I'm sure it's all natural.
It's mostly plant-based. I do organic whenever possible because, our bodies absorb those toxins and over a period of time, it becomes a problem for us. So for me, I do like a lot of juices, but you have to be really careful because when you don't have a stomach, anything with sugar in it absorbs completely different. It absorbs with no stomach. If I were to drink a glass of wine and you had a glass of wine, I'd be ripped because my blood is absorbing so much quicker because there's no stomach to help that process. So I'm really careful to not put a lot of sugars in it. So even a great juice could be bad for me because it's full of sugar. So I'm watching my sugar count all the time to make sure my body's not absorbing too much sugars. But I just do a lot of juices, a lot of protein powders. I look for good protein powders that don't have a lot of sugar in them, have a high protein count in them. It doesn't even really matter what they taste like anymore because I know I can make them taste good. I try not to add a lot of stuff to it and keep it as natural as possible. But I do eat what I want. Like today I had chicken noodle soup. Yay. It's really good.
That sounds good. I know. Well, I mean, those things that you're talking about right now, I mean, they can help people, period, whether they have a condition or no condition, whether they're in the same boat or not. I mean, it's healthy nutrition. And again, maybe it will process differently. And, I get a lot of those questions in our kind of fitness world. And, can I eat this? Can I eat that? What do I have to eat? When do I have to eat it? It's related to like loss, weight loss. It's related to like fitness, but it's all the same. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really what do you take in the body is going to make what the body is going to look like and how it's going to feel. So you've gone in a journey for the last 9, 10 years now, and you've learned a lot. And you also share a lot of that with people through your podcast, through your website, through your own business now? Because I know you stopped. I think you stopped the interior design now, and you just do holistic, and you just help people, guide them through their journeys, whatever the conditions. So, are there any specific folks that you actually help directly, or are you open to everyone that might need maybe clarity and clarification on what to do?
So I feel like if you're creating a business, you have to learn to pivot, right? You have to learn to move into what is working for your business, where your joy is. So I do coaching. I coach other coaches and help them. When you go online and you type in those words, there's millions of people doing the exact same thing. And I want to bring the cream to the top. And what I mean by that is I'm looking for influencers and people who are not saying, I want 1 million followers. That to me is influencing. No, I want my powerful message and story to change, start making change in the world. That is an influencer to me. And I want to give them a global platform where when someone like me who's sick and scared and vulnerable goes into the computer and types in those words, they're easier to find. Like they pop up right away and start connecting with them. And the way I do that, it's so important. When I worked in an office and people would come into my design studio, I get to look them in the eye, I get to reach my hand out and say, hi, I'm Jana, nice to meet you, come on in. It's very hard to do that on social media, right? I see people who just use the little graphic design people, avatars, instead of having their photo, right? You never know who they are. But I feel like
fake profiles.
Yes, I think it's so important for you to not use filters, right? So that when they meet you in person, like, whoa, you don't look like the same person I was just talking to. Be okay with who you are. But I think it's so important that I do. Ooh, hang on. Sorry, grandkids.
It's all right. It happens.
So I think it's really important for you to be able to reach through there. I started a hashtag I am where you're reaching through and introducing yourself. And I do almost everything in video because every time I reach out in video through an email, through my website, they're connecting with me. They're hearing me talk. They're getting a sense of who I am. They're feeling comfortable, starting to build trust and rapport with me. And it really works. For all of you who are posting ads on social media, I don't care how amazing your deal is. I don't care if it really will change their life. They're not seeing it unless they already know you and have that relationship with you. You are not connecting with new people because they see 50 million of those every day. But if you were to do a video and sell them what it is you're doing and connect with them, you will convert so many more people because they see you, they hear you, and they're starting to relate to you. It's not like an ad that's going up 1 million times in different colors, different graphics. It doesn't matter. If it's working for you, let me know because you'll be the one person I will start talking about. I know one person it's actually working for. But right now, I don't know anyone who it's working for, but connecting with them, letting them know who you are, that you care, that you're real, really helps. And let them know that you are not perfect. For instance, I don't want to go to a fitness instructor that's never had to struggle with her weight a day in her life, she's just, I hate it when they say, I eat whatever I want. I can't gain weight if I try. Oh, come on.
Yeah, I hear those.
Yes. That's probably not my coach because she's not going to get me, right? Because that's not how it works for me. But I'm going to tell you guys real quickly a little story about Superman. When they created Superman, he was a failure as a comic. Nobody was interested in Superman until they introduced kryptonite. And the minute he had a ding in his armor, he became that underdog, someone that you were like, ooh, careful the kryptonite, right? He all of a sudden became a famous superhero. Right. They want to see your scars because that's what they relate to. They want to know that you get them. You know exactly what they're going through because you've been there. And it's okay because I too have been there and I can help you get to that next space in your life, right? That next part of your journey, if you can just trust in me and believe in yourself. So I think it's really important that you reach out in a very authentic way. And remember what I said about the good stuff going out, not as much as the bad stuff. When you're building that credibility, the one time you're not quite genuine or not quite authentic will take you forever to recover from because they will figure it out. So if you show up pushing somebody else's agenda or something you're not really comfortable with, they'll see that. And it'll take you forever to get back to where you were with them, because the internet is a lot different than face to face, where they can see you made a mistake. I'm so sorry. It's the internet. They're like, I'm done.
And there's plenty, right? So
Yeah.
you're right. I mean, credibility, building the trust. I mean, those are all factors, and relating to somebody. I mean, it's not just, like you get perfect example about some fitness where people show these folks that are not your typical folks. I mean, there are a few of those and a lot of the others, I mean, that are out of shape. But unfortunately, a lot of those folks may be younger too, and they don't realize that, at that age, yes, you can get all that. But as you get older, your metabolism, everything changes. It's not the same. So depending on your audience, I mean, you can't always portray one person profile, that is a typical look. This is how a girl should look like, a guy should look like. We have this joke about the six packs, right? I mean, not everybody has a six pack or can have a six pack, for that matter. But that's one way to look at it. And the other way is really, to your point, is you can build years of, I guess, credibility. But all it takes is one bad incident, and people will not focus on all the good you did on that
Right.
little thing, and then it's over. And we've seen it. We've seen it in politics. We've seen it in movies. In stars and the rich and the famous. We've seen it in all different walks of life. Businesses. It's very common. And again, it's that personal, a video, a personal message. I believe in that. I mean, visual and direct, and being honest and being real, as opposed to just like some people, they hire, models and other people, and it's not really what the message is, because it throws people off, but it's marketing, right? And
100%.
and it's designed for that, in a way. But to your point, for somebody to change their life, they need to relate to people who have experience. And I use that also in some of my own trainings. You have to go through it. I mean, I've experienced a lot of different things in my life, up and down, and that's what makes you stronger. I mean, and even in there's a lot of quotes about that stuff, right? And some people believe, some people choose like, oh, that's not how it works. Okay, well, you can try. Now you had said earlier, you really hit on a very important piece, mindset.
Mm.
I there's a lot to say about mindset, and it's the one thing that can make a difference between a person and the other. Period and out. Because I think everything is in the mind. The mind power over the body can make. And actually, I had a couple of doctors on different shows, and they talked about that, the influence of the mind. I mean, what the mind does can control a lot of stuff, even physically. And it will make people vulnerable. And we've seen it when the adrenaline kicks in, people do some crazy stuff sometimes, and they don't even think their bodies can do, but they do it. And if you believe in something long enough, it happens. It almost manifests. And some people may think, well, that's bull. That's like magic or something. It's not. It's really true. It's the energy that the humans can produce, and it's really something that is powerful. But people don't tap into that power unless they have no choice, or they're in a position where I have no other way. I got to do this. I got to support. You can even tell yourself to heal. And actually, it has been documented where people heal just naturally based on what's. Of course, you take some certain steps, but it works. So mindset is everything. I mean, and we had a show that's called actually Mindset is Everything. But really, that is a big piece of all the stuff. You are here, and you have the more energy that people that may not have gone through what you've gone through, and you still have a nice smile. You're excited. You got all the enthusiasm. I mean, who does not want to be like you? I mean, let's call it for what it is. I mean, really, you're a good model for everyone. Doesn't matter what you go in life, and there are people that may be going through worse or bad or better, whatever the case may be. But at every given point in our lives, we have these things that we go through: health, family matters, work. COVID has actually materialized a lot of that. And we have actually experienced bad stuff last year. I mean, this whole year, and people are still experiencing bad stuff. And we've talked about how people have adapted, adjusted, and how their resilience and perseverance. And some people do get through it, and some people don't. And I think sometimes what they need is influence, and the right influence, meaning like, you can do this. And when you push that to them, to these people, it can change. And again, you've had changed a lot of people throughout your experience. even your kids, you made them change their career paths, and now they help other people, right? So that is important. I think that's a great message for our audiences and the listeners, to really, if you put your mind to it and you really believe, and you have to keep hope that things can happen, it will happen. And that's my belief too. So I relate to it. So question, Jenna, you've gone through all this, and what did your doctors think about your transformation, and the power of whatever you've been going through at this point? Did they change their mind about medicine, or were they just like simply mesmerized and like, what the hell just happened? Give us some of that nice magic potion. What's the deal?
So what I have is not like very common. So I'm sure they don't see other people like me, but I have this really great relationship with my surgeon, and he happened to be the chief of surgery at the time at the hospital. I think he's retired now. When I wanted to come home, he's like, okay, I'm gonna let you go home, but I'm gonna call you every day. Every single day for 2 months, he called me at the exact same time every morning, 7 a.m. before he went into his first surgery. He would call me and say, how are you? How are you doing? And some days were good and some days were not good. This was before the whole mindset shift, right? And he was amazed, but he called me into his office, I don't know, 2 years later, and he had another woman that he was going to do the same surgery on and did not want to do it because of what happened to me. And he asked me, would I do it over? What should he say to this lady? I said, well, definitely prepare her that something like this could happen and give her those options, but I would still do it. 100%. I would still have done it. So, I mean, what else was I going to do? Let my stomach just keep growing and nothing being able to exit? I had no choice. So I would have totally, I'm so happy that I had this journey. I'm so happy that I don't know if any of you have had a death scare. Let me tell you, it's when they say people who get like maybe the death penalty, right? And they're walking down those final steps. That's exactly what it feels like. There's this anxiety. There's this fear of, I've done what I'm supposed to get done. Like there's just so much on your plate. I just can't even tell you what that feels like. It's horrible. It's overwhelming, but something good came out of mine, right? I decided, okay, well, I can't control this, but I'm going to make a memory that my grandson will remember. And I can tell you that we have made many, many, many memories since. I now have 7 grandchildren and not 5. And those are my my Louis Vuittons, my Hermes bags, my fancy
They're
cars.
much more, they're much more definitely.
Those are how I notch success now.
And that is true success. I mean, to your point, materialistic stuff is great to have, but you lose anyone that is close to you, or life is the most, I guess, valuable thing that we have. Health is life as well. So, but was there any moment in your life in those early days where you almost lost hope or you were ready to give up?
Oh yeah, all the time. For sure, all the time. So what I don't say is after that surgery, it wasn't all on the road of healing. It wasn't all fun time. I ended up testing positive for the BRCA gene because I wouldn't be able to do chemo. I ended up having to have a double hysterectomy or a double mastectomy and a hysterectomy, which went completely wrong again. And so I had to have a surgery every 12 weeks for 2 years. And so I was either preparing for a surgery, recovering from a surgery, or getting ready for a surgery for 2 years. And it was a lot. But here's the thing, throughout the whole thing, they would say, I love when you come in, like you're so positive. I would wake up from the anesthesia. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so glad this is, I'm so happy. And I was always so joyful. And they're like, you wake up exactly like you go under. And by the way, this is a tip. When you have surgery, you wake up exactly like you go under. If you go under filled with anxiety and fear and stress, you wake up with anxiety, fear, and stress. But I went under with complete joy and excitement to just be getting this behind me and moving on. I was like, I'm getting a double mastectomy. Who cares? I'm not posing in, Sports Illustrated anytime soon. I'm good, right? I'm alive. Who cares? So I just kept moving forward with it. But it became a disaster surgery again. And it was one right after another. And every time I thought I had it behind me, I was going back in for another. So yeah, there was, by the way, there was never, ever, ever, ever a moment that I gave up on life. ever. Did I get tired? Yes. Did I get like, oh my gosh, how many times do I have to do this? You know what the answer to that is? As many times as it
As you,
takes, because I never gave up on wanting to be here. I know on my deathbed, hopefully in many, many years from now, I'm going to be the one not wanting to give up, because I just know how precious life is and how amazing those memories are that you get to create here.
listen, I mean, words cannot describe it. Actually, it's very powerful. And during that journey, you had people around you, your husband, your kids. How was their life with you? How was their journey? I mean, I'm sure the impact was not on you as well. I mean, they had to be there and go through it. How did you even support them? And I mean, it's one thing to support you, but also keeping them, in a positive mood as well, and where they can see the value and be there.
So there's definitely a lot of things I would do different. And the way I handled my children would be one. When I went into the hospital, I knew that I needed to focus on getting better. And I knew that that was a mental game for me. And I did not let them come to see me at all. As a matter of fact, I had my 51st birthday in the hospital, and my husband, who is a veterinarian, so he works 6 days a week, he would come, he would drive 45 minutes to the hospital, and they would take all my wires, all my machines, put me in a wheelchair. He could wheel me out into the sunshine for one little go round. So we were out 10 minutes and then rush me back up just so I could get outside. He did that every single day. Well, one day on one of those little trips, it was my birthday. He brought flowers and tied balloons to the wheelchair, and he ran me down. And there were all my kids on the lawn at the hospital to wish me happy birthday. But I didn't let them come to see me because I knew that I needed to focus on getting well. And as a mom, you can't focus on yourself when your kids are around. You're more worried about like what they're going through. How is it for them? Right. And I was in survival mode. Having said that, I would never recommend that to anyone. I would not do that again. If my kids need to be there for themselves, of course, I was very selfish in saying, just let me get through what I have to get through and block them out. My husband was the only person in 2 months that I would let in the hospital to see me.
Wow. So that's it had to be tough on them, but they did manage, and you guys manage, and here you go, 10 years later. Now, Jana, you live your life today happily, not only helping people, but you also live a normal life. You go out there, and do you do anything different? That is, or do you have any restrictions on your life the way that people may think?
Do you mean like, do I have eating restrictions or things I cannot do?
Things like, I don't know, walking, doing activities, and any of that,
There's nothing.
enjoying your life.
There's nothing I cannot do. Just put that out there. But right now, the things that I can do are things that I would have put off before. So I know that when you're all like, I'm older, right? I'm going to be turning 60. And I know that when I was younger, raising a family, there just didn't seem like enough time to do the things I really wanted to do, because when I either saved up for it, the kids needed something, or I didn't have the time, or somebody needed something. So we always come last. But I'm in a part of my life where I don't have to come last anymore, right? My care comes first. If I am not healthy, I cannot show up for my family. So I'm always taking care of myself. And that comes first. And then my relationships come way before any of my business, right? And it should be the same with you, because I can promise you, when I was on my deathbed, I never once said, I wish I could have finished that house. I wish I could have done better on this job. It was, I want more time with my kids and my grandkids. And so I live in that space now. It's never about the business. It's about my health. So I come first. It's about my kids and my family and my relationships outside of that. They come first. And then business is just a fun place I go to after all of that. But there's nothing that I can't do. As a matter of fact, I now take a trip, except for last year because of COVID. I go somewhere amazing that I want to go. So I've climbed Machu Picchu. We have climbed, what are they called? Icebergs in Patagonia. We have gone to Prague. Like, we went to Africa on safari. Like, I'm doing things to create these incredible memories with the people I love. And it has been the most amazing, best decade ever. If I ever get out of COVID, we're trying now to plan a trip to Italy. But last March, we were supposed to go see the tulips in Holland, but we weren't able to do that because they shut Holland down.
Yeah, the whole world shut down, fortunately.
Yes.
But again, I mean, you've given right now a couple of the big elements. One, never give up, no matter what. You have to cling to life and you have to believe that you can go through it. Also, the power of family and relationship, and you have to live and do things. And all finally, you talk about time, the commodity that we all kind of running out of, but we have to maximize it, right? Do whatever it takes to enjoy the most of it and do positive stuff. And you are doing it. I mean, it's funny because I think 2 shows back, or the last show was the guy, the guy had, the guest. His name is the bucket list guy.
Oh, I interviewed him on my show.
Yeah, so you know him. Awesome, right? I mean, you can't go wrong with that. I mean, he really spells it out nicely. You got to do the stuff. I mean, it keeps you motivated. So really, when you add it up, I mean, it's amazing what people can do. And a bad experience can turn out to be so positive. And to your point, you are stating this was the best decade of your life. Well, maybe again, I'm not sure if that is the best, but it was a great decade.
Was a great decade.
So again, and most of the people, they get faced with little things in life and they go crazy and they go like, oh my God, my life is ending and I can't do and cope with it. So today, hopefully the message is, if you're facing anything, I mean, you face death. I mean, that's the ultimate, no, right? It's the difficult, the worst part of all our life is that, we all fear death, right? And you faced it, you conquered it in a way, and you actually came out the other side happier than ever and making a big difference in people's lives because you decided to change your way of thinking. You decided to do more. You decided that it's not time yet that you can make things happen. And you did. If I may ask, Jenna, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, like, if you were to really give an evaluation right now, how many people would you have stated, like, would you say that you've actually helped change their mind today based on your personal experience and what you do?
I would say millions, honestly. Like I'm out there in a big way. But here's the one thing I want you to take away from this call. Mindset is the most powerful thing. You're talking to someone who shouldn't even be here. And it was all because I refused to let anyone give me an expiration date or write my story for me. They could have been right, but I was going to write how I was going to leave this world, right? I was taking back control. And one of the things about mindset is it's a sneaky little thing. Like you might be feeding it good things and thinking all that good stuff is in there. One of the things my parents always raised me is watch what you speak. You'll get the words of your mouth, right? And I grew up like always watching what I spoke. And for instance, if I was struggling to get a better grade in math, I would go out saying, yeah, I'm going to rock it. I'm going to get an A. Yes. Then I'd walk out that door and my head would go, no, you're not. You didn't even study. Like, are you crazy? Math's your worst subject. And so there's that monkey brain inside. It's sneaky, right? It's hearing all those things from everybody else. And I've learned to like, stop that monkey voice. Yeah, block it out and put that good stuff in there. And every once in a while, it pops back in. It's like a voice from the past or something in there. That's somebody else's baggage. They are not writing my story. If I mess up in life, it's on me because I chose to, right? I made that choice to do something that I thought maybe was going to be better than it was, and it wasn't. But I also know all these amazing things happening. The reason I'm here today is because of choices I'm making and powerful choices. Your brain, literally, its only job is to keep you alive. That's its job, right? If you touch something, it burns. It tells you it burns, don't touch it again, right? It sends a response to you. Why don't you give it a blueprint of where you want to be? And it could even be little secret notes that are all over the place. And every time your brain sees that, it thinks, oh, we're going on that vacation. There's another picture. Oh my gosh, we're going on that vacation. And pretty soon you're on that vacation because your brain doesn't know any different. It just starts going where you tell it, like where you're telling it to go. When that monkey voice comes in, no, you're not. You don't have any money for that. How are you going to get time off work? The kids aren't going to be able to do that. They're in school. And all those things come up and put those roadblocks in there. And pretty soon your brain just like, yeah, it ain't happening. But if you start putting in those little messages of where you want to be, it is so powerful. Like, and by the way, when you get there, it's just going to expand to something bigger and something bigger. When I first got into this line of work, I decided I wanted to understand the mind. Why did my mind save me? How did a mind shift thing go against what all the doctors were saying? How? So I went back to school. I became a mindset coach and I started working with clients, and it was like amazing. But then it shifted more. I was asked to tell my story, and I didn't think anybody would care, right? Who else has lost their stomach? Nobody's even going to relate to it. But I said yes, and there was 35,000 people in this place. I had never spoke on stage. I literally walked off and threw up in a trash can. And I kept going, the whole time looking at people. I knew they were staring at me. They were judging me. Like I wasn't 100% healthy yet. And it was hard. But when I walked off that stage, as I was leaving, the stage manager put her arm on my shoulder and said, "Where are you going?" And my response was, "Am I not done? Can I please just be done?" And she said, "No, you're done. But there is a line of people waiting to meet you." And I looked around the corner, and there were hundreds of people standing there wanting to say something to me, because your stories are so powerful. You have no idea the people you will touch, sending out that heartbeat that you have in your story. It connects with someone and draws them in. And I understood then, I have a message, I have a powerful message, and I am sharing it. So it went from me writing a book. Oh my gosh, my book went bestseller in the first week. And I'm like, I have to tell more stories. So I got the podcast. We hit 200,000 subscribers. And it wasn't me, it's these stories. And then I'm like, someone asked me to do a newsletter, right? I don't want to do a newsletter. It's a lot of work. But I know people who are amazing who can give me articles. I created a magazine that's at 240,000 subscribers, and we're just a year old. And it's all about holistic lifestyle, holistic mindset things that you can be doing. And it all came from me being sick, to sharing my story, to building all of this, because that message is getting out there and it's creating change.
Well, Jana, I mean, I don't want to add any words to what you said because that is the most powerful stuff that we can take. But I did have one question. You mentioned the book.
Mhm.
The name is that There's Still Hope. I think is that.
Oh, my health, there is hope.
Oh my, say it one more time, please.
Oh, my health, there is hope. It's the same name as the podcast because I wanted to get more stories out there.
And the book is available, of course. So for anyone listening and watching, please check out the book. It will be on the description of the show. I think it is already. so just check that out. I mean, it is powerful stuff. And again, I'm not going to add any words to the wisdom you just gave us here, but really, 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 these are strong, powerful messages that any one of us can take to heart and apply in real life, no matter what circumstances we have. And with that, I want to thank Jana for being with us on the show. Check out her podcast. I mean, one thing about podcasts and radio shows and things is that there's so many interesting people and there's so much to learn from. So please feel free, check her out. Ask questions, get the magazine, get the book, whatever can help you, help someone in your life, do it. Jana, thank you for the time, and for our listeners and audience watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening in. And we'll talk tomorrow for another unique show. And until then, we'll talk, and good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you.